Welcome to Horror Boys. It's a podcast on the internet. I'm Austin, joined as always by
Chris.
And we are the Horror Boys. And this isn't just any old podcast on this old internet. No, my friend. This is a horror movie review podcast where every week we review a horror movie.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what we do. We review horror movies. Typically, franchise by franchise. Very infrequently, not. Deal with it when it happens. This is not one of those times, though. Because last week we talked about Child's Play, and today we're talking about Puppet Master... No, we're talking about Child's Play 2, because it's the next one.
Yeah.
That's how that works, typically. Typically, the movie that has the number 2 in it is the second one. Unless it's the Halloween franchise, and then it could be the second one, like the 14th one.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not 14th. There's only been 13. I must make sure, people don't get mad at me. I think that's actually the 10th one. I'm sorry, Halloween fans.
Yeah. There's... Yeah.
It's 13. It might have been 14 with Halloween Ends. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Because we're not talking about the day. We're talking about Child's Play 2.
Right.
So let's talk about it. This movie was directed by the late John LaFia, who was one of our writers on the last Child's Play. Came back as a director for this one.
Oh.
Our writer is, this time around, solely just Don Mancini, who will be a name you will come to know if you haven't already come to know when it comes to the Child's Play franchise. He is a very important man.
He is Mr. Child's Play.
Yeah. Another man who's also very important in that is our producer, David Kirshner. Yeah. Yeah, he's also been around since, the first one, and I think is still helping produce, the TV show now. So.
Yeah, he is involved in the series.
Yeah. Then we have our composer, who is actually a Horror Boy alum in his own right. Rene Ravel, I believe is how his name is pronounced. He's a Horror Boy alum for producing Freddy vs. Jason. Not producing, composing, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He composed, so he made the music in that movie.
I don't remember any of the music in that movie, so I can't be mad.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's why he's a Horror Boy alum, though. But because I don't think I was talking about composers back in the Freddy vs. Jason era, I will also talk about a couple other, horror relevancies that he has, which is he composed The Crow and The Craft, which stars Horror Boy alums Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich, who were both in Scream. And then Neve Campbell was in Scream 2 through 5 as well.
Yeah. But not
this. And spoiler, Skeet Ulrich was then back in Scream 5, actually, as well.
True.
So yeah, that's the composer. Rene Ravel, I believe, is how it's pronounced. I don't think it's English.
Does not sound very English.
Our director of photography is Stefan Zapsky of Edward Scissorhands, alongside Horror Boys alum Johnny Depp. He also did Batman Returns alongside Horror Boy alum Andrew Bryniarski, who played Leatherface in the reboots. And Johnny Depp is a Horror Boy alum because of his work in Nightmare on Elm Street 1.
No, I understand.
I didn't say it to the audience who probably know that but I didn't mention it for him, and I normally do when we're talking about Horror Boy alums.
Fair.
And then lastly, he also, he did a lot more than these, but the lastly that I'm mentioning, he was the director of photography on Ed Wood, alongside Horror Boy alums Johnny Depp again, and Patricia Arquette of Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yeah.
I'm wearing the shirt from Nightmare on Elm Street 3 right now. I think that's her in the middle. officially. I don't remember who's supposed to be who in that shirt. It's the poster. It's not exactly accurate to the movie.
No.
But yeah, I just happened to be wearing the shirt. I wasn't planning it.
Sounds like you were.
I was. It was a big plan. It was in my notes right here. So after I show the shirt, I say that we also have our first time, I think, ever that I've mentioned this, but it's very important, I feel like, for this movie, is our production designer, who in this movie is Ivo Christine of Tremors 1, alongside Horror Boy alum Kevin Bacon, who was in the first ever Horror Boys episode. I mean, he wasn't, we talked about a movie he was in the first episode. We did not get Kevin Bacon on episode 1, and then
he was on Friday the 13th.
Yes, Friday the 13th was our first episode that Kevin Bacon was in. Ivo also was the production designer on Tremors 2 and Hellraiser 4 alongside Kevin Yeager. Speaking of Yeager, he is returning to head our Chucky effects team and to direct the second unit this time around.
Oh. Ooh. Wait, isn't Kevin Bacon also in Tremors?
No, this is Kevin Yeager. I already said Kevin Bacon was in Tremors.
Oh, okay.
What? It's literally when I brought him up. That's why we brought up Kevin Bacon, was because of Tremors.
I thought it was because of Friday the 13th.
No, I was bringing up Ivo Christine did Tremors' production design, and I brought up that was along with Horror Boy alum Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so back to what I said, Kevin Yeager, who is the Chucky designer and executor. So yeah.
Yeah.
I should cut that. I won't. Because I want for once one of the mistakes to be Chris. It's normally me. I leave those in too. Now we're going to move on to our puppeteers, because that's something I do for the Chucky franchise, and I only mildly regret it. I don't. Yeah. I love giving people credit when it's deserved, and like definitely on a movie like this, the puppeteers are deserved credit. But there was a whole page of notes before I get to the movie this time around. So, yeah. Let's talk about our puppeteers. We'll start off with 3 people who I will not be telling you what else they've done, because they are actually returning from the last movie. So if you want to know the other work they've done, head on over to our episode on Child's Play 1. But those returning people are the late Frank Charles Lutkus III, Dave Nelson, and the late N. Brock Winkless IV, which is the coolest name ever.
It is absolutely one of the names.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. It's just so, like, that's a lot, and I like it. Yeah. Here's the thing, I wouldn't want to be that name in school or anything. That would be hard. That would be a hard life that poor man probably lived.
I'm just trying to imagine being an N. Brock Winkless in my day-to-day life. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, now we're going to move on to our new puppeteers, because there's 8 of them.
Oh.
Yeah. We start with Mike Trisic, I believe it's how the name is Trcic. I think it's Trisic. I'm guessing, though, because that is too many consonants next to each other.
Yeah, I guess they ran out of vowels in their Scrabble game.
But yeah, Mike was also worked on some. I will say that some of the puppeteers, some of the movies I will bring up for them were movies they puppeted on. Some of it's they worked on the makeup team, the special effects team. So a lot of times puppeteers will do both makeup and special effects and puppets. Like they didn't for sure do puppets on everything I brought up. Also, because there were 8 new people, and a lot of them are in some of the same movies, and some of the same movies as the last time, I'm not bringing up any Horror Bois alums that are in any of the movies that they're in, because a lot of them are very prolific people who did a lot of work. If you want to know other people who were in them, go to the IMDb's of their pages. But yeah, so Trisic did Jurassic Park, Batman Returns, T2, Evil Dead 2, and Day of the Dead. Then we have another new person, the late Van Snowden of Bill and Ted 2, Beetlejuice, Casper, and Tales from the Crypt.
Ooh.
We also now have Shannon Shee or Shay, it's Shannon Shay for sure, of Jurassic Park, Predator, Spy Kids, Hulk, Batman Returns, House, the American movie, not the Japanese movie, T2, and is technically a Horror Boy alum in their own right for their work on Nightmare on Elm Street 5 and for their work on The Faculty. So, nice. Yeah. We also have Anton Ruprecht, I think is what I wrote. Hopefully that's right.
For sure.
Yeah. Of Monster Squad, House, Night of the Creeps, and is also a Horror Boy alum for themselves for their work on Friday the 13th Part 5, which is a New Blood, or no, The New Beginning. There's too many ones with the word new in it. It's the one with Roy. It's the Roy one.
That's the new one.
Yeah, it's the Roy one.
Yeah.
Ron Pipes is also coming in to do some puppeteering, and he was also a puppeteer in Bill and Ted. Or not puppeteer, but he also worked on Bill and Ted 2, Hellraiser 5, 13 Ghosts, alongside Horror Boy alum Matthew Lillard, and is a Horror Boy alum for their work in Wishmaster, Scream 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Jason Goes to Hell, and were involved in the first Child's Play, working on Chucky's hair. They were in charge of Chucky's hair. They were part of Kevin Yeager's team. Is it Kevin Yeager? Did I say the wrong name now? It is Kevin Yeager. Okay, good. It is Kevin Yeager. Okay, I want to make sure I didn't say the wrong name there. Yeah. Kevin Yeager, he's the man in charge of the Chucky team, and this man worked on the hair in the last movie. I did not bring that up because I was only bringing up puppeteers and, like, the main person, but they are technically a Horror Boy alum for that, as well as those, like, 6 other movies they did, like, special effects on.
Very nice.
Then we have Mekki Hausen, who did work on Tales from the Crypt, House 3, Tremors, Jingle All the Way, Bill and Ted 2, and is a Horror Boy alum for their work on Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5, and for Friday the 13th 7. Now we have, I believe, 2 more. We next go to Sandy Grin of Beetlejuice. And lastly, Kevin Carlson of Snow Dogs, Stuart Little 2, Dr. Dolittle 1 and 2, Men in Black 2, Beetlejuice, was Timmy the Tooth in the Timmy the Tooth video series, and was an additional Muppet performer on a lot of Muppets things. So they were never like a specific character, but they did a lot of, like, you know, behind the scenes puppeting. So yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a picture. I only brought up Timmy the Tooth because I saw the picture and was like, I remember this. I don't know why I remember Timmy the Tooth, but I remember it. And I was like, I need to say that this exists. Because he was also, this guy was the voice of Timmy the Tooth, and also, like, there was, like, at least 10 or 11 credits he did as Timmy the Tooth. So, yeah.
Phenomenal.
And they're also, I believe, our first ever Muppet performer as one of our puppeteers, which is kind of crazy that there's this many, like, talented puppeteers who had nothing to do with Muppets.
Yeah.
You would think there'd be a lot of crossover, and apparently there's not as much as I would have thought.
There's a few more puppeteers in the world than you might have thought.
I'm learning about 10 of them a week at the rate we're going. It's pretty cool, I guess. I'm just kidding. It is. I'm very happy to read over their names, because some of them, you know, maybe they stay around for a while. Some of them, maybe they come and go. I don't remember. I don't know. But hey, it's cool to know about them. And we're going to move on to the actual movie now.
Yay, movie.
We start the movie playing some epic music and a close-up shot of an eye. It's Chucky's eye being removed from his burnt head from the OG. We get an animated title card where the 2 is blood. Our credits play over our building Chucky into a new doll scene.
There's also a really cool scene where the plastic like melts back onto the head. It's played in reverse, but it looks cool.
I don't remember that, but okay, I'm sure it happened.
Yeah.
It's intercut this scene with a limo driving to this factory. The limo drops off PlayPal's CEO, Mr. Sullivan, played by.
I was thinking of the third one.
Yeah, I think you were. Yeah, I was about to say I don't think that scene is there.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Not for another movie. That's next week, guys.
Chris got ahead of schedule and is messing everything up.
Whoopsies.
So yeah, out pops at the limo PlayPal CEO Mr. Sullivan, who is played by the late Peter Haskell of Bracken's World and Search for Tomorrow. There are two shows I've never heard of personally, but he was on them for a long time. One of them is a soap opera that's had 5,000 episodes. He was only on 100 something of them. That's soap operas.
Not that much, to be honest.
So he's on a year or so. Is really what that a year, 2 years of it is basically what it is. Because they're it's all soap operas are weird, man. I don't know how they financially are viable. They must have a lot of people watching them in the daytime because these shows go on for 10, 15, 20 years, releasing 100 episodes a year and stuff. It's insane.
It's wild.
But Netflix can't keep the shows I like on for 8 episodes a season. Come on.
No.
But yeah. And Mr. Sullivan is met by Mattson, the executive in charge of dealing with the bad publicity the first movie got PlayPals. Mattson is played by Greg German, a character actor with over 100 roles, including long runs on Grey's Anatomy and Ally McBeal, and a bit part as the father of the serial killer that Jimmy had a baby with on Raising Hope. You didn't get to that far, but we do meet her dad at some point, and it's him.
Huh.
He's in 3 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah. Mattson informs Sullivan about how the police from the incident denied what they saw, but Miss Barkley corroborated her son Andy's story, landing her, under psychiatric observation. And Andy got put into a children's crisis center awaiting foster custody.
Yeah.
But the good news is they rebuilt the doll and found no signs of tampering. Excuse me, sorry. I'm real burpy today. It's one of those professional podcasts we run.
Yeah, very professional.
Yeah. Miss Sullivan wants to see the doll. The doll is not quite done, with 2 technicians preparing. That's not the right word. Preparing.
Refurbishing.
It's preparing, I think, is the word I wanted here. Preparing to put eyes into the doll.
Ah, yes.
Technician 1 is played by Dawn Pugsley of Near Dark and an episode of Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh. No.
Tech 2 is played by Ed Krieger of Return of the Living Dead alongside Horror Boy alums Tom Matthews of Friday the 13th Part 6. He played Tommy in that movie. And Linnea Quigley, a Scream Queen, who was the topless soul in Freddy's chest in Nightmare on Elm Street 4. But she's also we will say the name Linnea Quigley again at other points because she was in a ton of more B-movie horror movies, but there are definitely some that are already on the schedule to cover eventually. It's she is a name that is definitely, she's a Scream Queen for sure. She's in tons of horror movies. And it just happens to be that the only one we've covered is the one where she's just a chest inside of Freddy's chest.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second technician was also in Alien Nation alongside Horror Boy alums, the late James Caan, who was in Santa's Sleigh, as well as Tom Morga, who's known as the only man to play Jason, Leatherface, and Michael Myers. So, I say who's known because I don't know if I 100% agree with it. Because once again, I don't know. Maybe there's like one scene, like, or one of the movies he's credited as playing Jason by like everyone is in Part 5. So I don't know if he's playing Roy, who's basically Jason, and therefore, yeah, sure, fine, maybe we should call him that, or if it's like when Tommy's seeing the visions of him. I don't know. But he's not the one in the opening scene that's like young Tommy having a dream. So I don't know who he is in the movie exactly, but he's credited as playing Jason by everyone. And he also, you know, kind of played Leatherface in like one scene and played Michael Myers in a different one scene. So, like, but no one else has been able to say they did all three. So, good for him.
Yeah.
And lastly, in that movie, we have technical Horror Boy alum in Brian Thompson of Dr. Mordred and 4 episodes of Buffy, but I won't talk about those because he's not even in this movie. He's just in a movie with a guy in this movie.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Hey, what?
Don't you putting eyeballs?
Hey, don't you I tell people about who movies people were in with. That's what we do. Don't you some ways me and try to rush me. I'm going. Tech 1 lowers the eyes into Chucky with a machine. Once in Chucky, the eyes create like electricity that goes up to the machine, electrocuting Tech 1 to death. And like throwing him backwards. And also brings Chucky back, because just deal with it. That's really the answer. And honestly, I'm okay with that being the answer.
Yeah.
Because either Chucky's heart was destroyed and is gone for good, but now somehow he's still in the... I don't care. I don't really care. I don't think it's actually... It's the classic horror movie problem of we want to bring back the killer and we just had to come up with a way. And I'm honestly just okay with it. Fine, he's back. The eyes somehow were powerful in the new body. That's fine with me.
They had one of his original eyes that they saved, I guess.
I think it's also the same original, like, skull, too.
It's the same head, yeah. Because they, like, shaved down the burnt plastic off the aluminum.
I thought the plastic remelted back onto his face is what you said.
No, that's in the third movie.
I know, I'm making fun of you.
No, that's in the third one.
We then head to Midtown Children's Crisis Center, where Andy is playing Go Fish with a social worker. Andy is played by the returning Alex Vincent. The social worker is played by Raymond Singer of The Entity, and was a writer on Joseph, King of Dreams, and Mulan. But also, both of those movies have like at least like 6 or 7 writers. Mulan had like 10 or 12, it seemed like, and I'm like, how?
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I was like, oh, he's a writer on Mulan, and I went to Mulan's page, and I was like, there's like 12 different people who are credited as the writer, or like, he was he was screenplay on both of those, but there were also multiple other people on screenplay, and there were also multiple other things, like the story, but it's like, there were so many people who apparently made the stories of those movies. But he's one of them. But yeah, so the social worker is talking to Andy about, you know, asking him, like, hey, have you had any dreams about Chucky lately? At first, Andy just says no, but then opens up about the dreams that are basically the plot of the first one.
Yeah.
They agree it was a scary dream, but dreams aren't real and can't hurt you. It is obviously also, once again, I will give Alex Vincent so much credit. Even as a 8-year-old kid is able to portray like the I don't mean this, but I'm saying this to make you happy, like with like small facial movement and it's just he's so talented as a child actor, which is insane because typically children actors aren't good at period. Alex Vincent might be a better actor than some, like, adult actors.
Adult actors?
Yeah. He is
almost
so good.
Definitely.
You know, he's not as cute as he was in the first one, but he's, you know, actually, like, able to actually act better than he did in the first one. He doesn't need to be pulled off of, you know, just as cute. He's still cute. He's still a cute, like, 8-year-old kid. It's not like he's, like, going through puberty and looks awkward or anything. But yeah, he's back. He's cool. And he does a great job as an actor.
Right, does do a phenomenal job.
We cut back to the factory where Mr. Sullivan tells Mattson to cover up the incident and, you know, tells him to, you know, shove Chucky up a place he shouldn't when he's asked what to do with it. Not very, very comfortable for anyone.
Yeah.
Back at the center, Grace Poole talks to Joanne and Phil Simpson about fostering Andy. Sorry. I don't know why I said sorry. I just breathed in and then I said sorry. That was weird. Grace Poole.
Sorry for breathing.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm breathing. I'm sorry. I'll stop. Grace Poole is played by Grace Zabriskie of Avatar. Sorry, I mean Fern Gully. She was in Fern Gully. Get those movies mixed up.
The original Avatar.
She was also in Twin Peaks, Sparkler, alongside Horror Boy alum Jamie Kennedy. She was also in The Grudge, alongside Horror Boy alums Ted Raimi, Clea Duvall. I guess I should say who these people are in. Sorry, Jamie Kennedy was in Screams 1 and 2, and kind of 3. Ted Raimi is in Wishmaster. Clea Duvall is in The Faculty, and lastly, in The Grudge with Grace Zabriskie, we have Horror Boy alum Buffy herself, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was in Scream 2. Also, Grace Zabriskie was in Wrong Cops, a movie directed by Horror Boy alum Quentin Dupois of Rubber. He's the director of Rubber. And it's also starring Horror Boy alums Roxanne Mishquad. It's the girl from Rubber. I don't remember how to pronounce her name. It was a weird name to pronounce. I remember that. I'm sorry.
Very French.
Very, very, very well acting, French lady. I don't remember how to pronounce your name. We also have Daniel Quinn returning from Rubber to be in that movie, as well as Jack Plotnick. And also, lastly, we have Mark Burnham, who is another Horror Boy alum in the movie. He was Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. And they're all in Wrong Cops. And lastly, she was in the video game The Quarry, alongside Horror Boy alums Ted Raimi, I already said what he was in, David Arquette, who was in Screams 1 through 5, Lance Hendrickson of Scream 3, and Lynn Shay of Nightmare on Elm Street and New Nightmare.
Whew.
Yeah.
That was a hefty one.
Yeah.
I got lost trying to keep track with what was happening.
That was all things that Grace
Zabriskie
was in, who plays Grace Poole in this movie. I know, but the problem is I started it with one. If you do it with one movie, because you go, I think it was on Scream 2 where I was like, hey, do you know these people were both in this other movie together? And it's like, oh, cool, now I have to do that every time I see that. I started a problem for myself, and now I'm stuck with it.
Yay.
Joanne Simpson is played by Jenny Agutter of Logan's Run, Darkman, alongside Horror Boy alums the late Don Hicks. Or Dan? It might be Dan. I can't tell my own handwriting. I'm sorry. The family of
Dan or Don Hicks.
Of Mr. Hicks there. And he was in a movie with Ted Raimi. That's right. They were both in Wishmaster together. Then she was also in An American Werewolf in London, which surprisingly we haven't covered a movie with made by Rick Baker yet, or makeup by him. I really thought we would have, but we hadn't. That's why I put it after. I normally like to put the movies that have Horror Boy alums at the last thing I talk about for a person, but I put this one after because I thought that I was sure there had to be someone in it that we had covered. Nope. But it's also like a really big horror movie, so I guess horror relevancy, it's more important than Darkman probably. The superhero movie made by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Phil is played by Garrett Graham of Terror Vision, It's Alive 3, Chud 2, and Chopping Mall. Joanne is on board to foster Andy, while Phil is hesitant that they're not qualified to give Andy what he needs. Grace assures him that all Andy needs is a fresh start, and that his belief that Chucky killed people last year and was really Charles Ray is just a child's way of coping with what he doesn't understand. She's wrong, though. Yeah. Wrong, Grace. Yeah. That's not what it is. It's actually real.
Yeah, he's coping with
He's not coping at all, really. He's just actually
He's processing childhood trauma.
It's actually literally what just happened to him, though. It wasn't, him coping and making up a story. It's just what happened.
Yeah.
On their way home, Joanna asks Andy what his favorite food is. It's chocolate, but followed up by a close second, eggs, like his mom used to make him. Phil is distracted by talking to Andy and almost crashes into a Play Pal Toys truck. Look at this. That Chucky guy almost killed Andy again. Poor Andy. I thought he was all in his head.
But actually, just kidding. Chucky isn't on this truck.
I mean, it's a good guy, and
it is a Play Pal's truck.
But I mean, on the back of the truck is literally a shot of the good guy, and the good guy. According to their credits in the original movie, the walk around guy was also named Chucky. So I think Chucky might have been initially the mascot name before. I don't know. Who knows? But fine. There's I was just trying to be silly and talk about how Chucky almost killed him again. You get to overanalyze it, Chris.
You're welcome.
Once at his really new ugly home, Andy looks around at some antiques. By the way, I just want to point out that house is ugly. That pink and blue, it's so broken.
Yeah, it is.
It is atrocious.
Disgusting. Awful.
But yeah, he does look around, and he finds some antiques. His little statue that he's about to touch before Phil stops him, and Joanne explains the importance of it to her because it's passed down from her grandmother to her mother, then to her. And Andy accidentally asks the savage question of who she wants to pass it down to. And there's just an awkward silence from both of them as we, the audience, realize oh, that's why they're foster parents. Okay. Oh, no. That's just... Oh, it's dark now.
But also, let's go that the foster parents have not, child-proofed their home at all. And just super fragile items, right above the floor.
Yeah, real low, right at child eye level, what a child would want to go for.
Yeah. Great foster parents.
Yeah.
Especially Phil. He's awesome.
I mean...
even
to be fair to Phil, he's mean way too soon, but also he's kind of right. They were not prepared to have Andy. And he wanted to say no from the start, but Joanne pushed him into agreeing to say yes.
I guess that's fair. But he is
But also, he's a horrible person, and we're not supposed to side with Phil.
Yeah, I'm canceling Phil.
Nah, I'm not going to go that far, but fair
This fictional character.
Yeah. So they send him upstairs, and he meets Kyle, his cool, rebellious sister. Kyle is played by Christine Elise of ER, Beverly Hills 90210, and Body Snatchers, alongside Horror Bois alum, the late Arlie Ermey of the Texas Chainsaw reboot and its prequel. Yeah, she's cool. She's a good character. I'll just bring it up here just that she also is a really fun actress in this. She's really good. There's a fun quote from her about how she had to be on the top of her game because if the doll gets it right in a scene, if you're acting with the doll, it's the scene that's going. Even if you screw up, if the doll gets it right, that's the scene that's in the movie. Which I thought was just a funny way of yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Joanne comes in and reprimands her for smoking, and tells her to unpack her bags because she's been there for 3 weeks. Kyle says she doesn't see the point. She never spends more than a month in a new place. And sadly, she still won't. What?
Whoopsies.
Oopsie. Spoiler.
Jeez, Austin, we're not even there yet.
I know. Andy is then shown to his new room. And there's a bunch of cool toys in the cool toys. And then he heads to the closet. There's a cool skateboard that he reaches up for. But then when he reaches the skateboard, down falls a good guy doll named Tommy, and it triggers his PTSD. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But apparently not fair enough because Phil stops Andy from running, saying it's just a doll.
Yeah.
Well,
you need to face your childhood trauma.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, Joanne.
Stupid idiot.
Well, Joanne, not Joanna. Well, Joanne says she'll get rid of it because Joanne's trying her best. She's not perfect, but she's at least trying. Phil,
Hmm.
maybe not so
Not.
much.
Yeah.
Tommy,
He gave up from the start.
yeah. Tommy / all good guy dolls, which basically is just Tommy, and then if Chucky's using his good guy doll voice, are still voiced by Eden Gross. Andy closes the door with some subtle but really good dramatic acting. Just the way he closes the door and slumps down. There's so much emotion in that 8-year-old child's eyes that my heart breaks for him, and it's so subtle but so good.
Yeah.
We head back to Mattson, leaving the Playpals factory in the rain. He tries to put Chucky in the trunk, but when he won't fit, he puts him in the back seat. Mattson stops at a liquor store to pick up some vodka, because he's got a date that, according to the wiki, is with his mistress, but I don't know where they get that from in this movie at all. It could easily just be his girlfriend. He never mentions having a wife, but the girl he is going on this date with this is their 2-week anniversary, so it's probably not his wife. Fair, but I don't know where they got the idea that he has to not be, that he's cheating on a wife. But according to the Chucky wiki, he's cheating on his wife. So maybe,
yeah, definitely.
Maybe that's true. Maybe it's from the novelization where they like to add stuff. Maybe in the novel he's married. I don't know.
Possible.
Yeah, he stops at the liquor store to buy some vodka. While he's inside, Chucky uses his car phone to call the center, pretending to be Andy's Uncle Charles trying to find Andy. And apparently, they are the most unprofessional center ever because it works and he gets what he wants. In the scene while he's calling her, though, Grace is holding a kid named Sammy, who Sammy is played by Adam Wiley of Stepfather 3, Return to Sleepaway Camp, Children of the Corn 5, alongside Horror Boy alum Kane Hodder. He was also in Under Wraps, which is not a Horror Boy thing we've covered, but something me and Chris have watched for content on a different channel, as well as another movie we watched for content on a different channel. He was also in Santa with Muscles.
Interesting.
Yeah, this kid's been in everything. And by everything, I mean Child's Play 2, a bunch of really obscure, not great from I understand, but most of them, sequels to horror movies, a DCOM, and a really crappy movie starring Hulk Hogan. So everything.
Yeah.
That's the career I want. I mean, honestly, I would take it.
It is better than nothing.
Yeah. Inside, Mattson can't buy his vodka because the liquor store does not accept credit cards.
Cash
even
only,
though he's
baby.
got a gold card, and that's as good as cash.
Yeah, an Amex Gold.
But it's not good enough for the clerk. And the clerk is played by the late Herbie Braha of The Howling. Mattson leaves in a huff when he hears his car alarm going off. He turns it off and drives away. When Chucky gets him at gunpoint and gets him to drive him to the Simpson house, but he has him go a little past it to go to a park, so, in case, maybe he's about to do something to this poor Mattson guy that's not in front of their house, because that might draw attention. So yeah, once he's at the park, he does, he has him he ties up his arms, and Mattson starts begging for his life, and Chucky says, "Bang, you're dead," as he pulls the trigger to the water gun he had been holding him at gunpoint with this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, it was a very small gun, so... to be fair, I don't think I realized it was a water gun the first time I watched it, but I should have, because it's definitely, why would there be a Chucky-sized actual gun?
There's probably Chucky-sized actual guns out there.
Yeah, maybe. But why would that randomly be in Mattson's car, though?
Yeah. That is fair.
Now Chucky just starts laughing like crazy at this point, as he then takes a play out of Billy's Playbook from Black Christmas and suffocates Mattson with a plastic bag.
Yeah.
We get a Chucky POV shot, I guess still in Billy's playbook, as he is going up to the front door. I mean, or a Michael playbook if you want, but, you know, Billy did it first. I'm just saying.
I don't know that Billy did do it first.
The POV shot in 74 of him, like, walking up to the house?
Wait, what? Billy in 74?
Billy is the name of the caller, probably, according...
Oh, you're right.
That's why he suffocated with a plastic bag.
Right,
No, not Billy Loomis. Billy Loomis did not suffocate anyone. He just stabs people because that's that franchise. I love Scream, but it's just stabs. If I said that he did anything but stab someone, it obviously wasn't Scream. Sorry, I could have said he shot someone, and then it could also be Scream.
You said Billy's, and I thought Scream.
Yeah, that's fair. That's where the bit comes from, but it was a different Billy I was talking about. Upstairs.
For Black Christmas, Billy.
Yeah.
Audience, anyone who was also confused.
And that's fair. I feel like most people would have figured out with the plastic bag suffocation being part of the playbook.
Oh yeah, no, they would have. Well, maybe. I don't know. Depends on the state of our audience.
Either they got it, or they didn't understand why I said Billy's so weird, and we're just like, okay, this guy's a weirdo.
Yeah.
So upstairs, Joanne reads a bridge/altar version of Hansel and Gretel. She just decides to stop reading it and says they lived happily ever after.
Well, it's really funny, yeah, because she's reading the Grimm's brothers, Hansel and Gretel, which definitely means it did not have a happy ending.
And Andy knows that. He points it out to her, but, you know, she's like, hey, it's over. We'll read the rest tomorrow then.
We're done.
Andy tells her not to go and asks her if he'll ever see his mom again. She says yes and offers to stay with him and agrees to sing to him like his mom used to. The camera slowly pans from, like, the door outside of his room, down the hall, down the stairs, revealing that Chucky is down there. Oh, he's inside the house. The Chucky is coming from inside the house. It's another reference to...
Up with these Black Christmas references.
There's a lot of them, apparently, in this movie. I don't know. This is Black Christmas.
No,
so you watched Chucky 3 to prepare for this episode, and I watched Black Christmas.
Yeah,
and now we're going to say them together and see what happens. See if we get close to Chucky 2.
Oh, okay.
Child's Play 2, not Chucky 2. I don't want the internet to get on me. I know I made a mistake. I'm sorry. This is also, once he's inside, this is the first time, at least I noticed, the really cool music box style score and like theme we'll hear later throughout the movie. It's really well done. I really love the way it sounds. Spoiler, I believe Don Mancini also really likes it because I'm 99% sure I remember hearing this throughout some of the later movies in the franchise. Like, he brings it back. But yeah, nice. A little, like, I don't know how to explain it other than it sounds kind of like a music box. And I think may have been made with a music box, at least according to the way that, you know, what I heard on, you know, Dead Meat. Who knows where they got it from, because I don't know. I'm moving on. But yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Chucky turns around.
It is cool.
Yeah, it is. It sounds cool. I like the little song. Chucky turns around and right into Tommy, who says, "Hi, I'm Tommy," and Chucky tells him to shut up and punches it over, causing it to repeat, "I like to be hugged." So Chucky uses Joanne's family heirloom to smash Tommy's head in. Smash his head. As he says, you know, "Hug this." He doesn't smash the face quite in. First, we have to cut away before we can cut back to finding that out. Andy hears the noise, but Joanne tells him it's nothing and to go back to sleep. No one's going to hurt you. She's also wrong.
Yeah.
I guess to be fair, he never. I mean, I guess he gets like knocked out once, but like he really doesn't get that hurt. Really, honestly, Andy kind of gets out pretty easily.
It's true. Yeah. It's out relatively unscathed.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe
emotionally he is damaged, but physically he's all right. Maybe a concussion.
Maybe some rope burn around the wrists and ankles,
maybe.
Which we'll get to soon.
Yeah. We won't get to the concussion for a while.
No.
But yeah, after she says it's fine, we cut back to Chucky smashing in Tommy's head while breaking the statue. Chucky then buries Tommy under the swing set in one of the few shots to be the returning Ed Gale in a suit, as Tom LaFia did not like the way that he looked in the first movie. He did not like the way that the suit performer looked. And then also, like, Here's the thing. Reddit believes that this shot is definitely Ed Gale, and Ed Gale is credited as a stunt person in this movie, and I don't know who he would have done stunts for that wasn't Chucky, or some sort of Chucky in a suit thing, because, if you don't know, Ed Gale is a little person. So I don't know what else they could have done in the movie. And there's also, like, just the way Reddit pointed out, that this shot, the way this is shot, like, there's no way this shot can't be a suit performer. Like, it's overhead where there's nowhere to hide. It's overhead outside where there's nowhere to, like, there's nowhere to hide this.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to hide the robotics. Like, this isn't now where they can digitally take it out really easy. Like, there's no way for this not to be a suit performer. But I will say, in an interview, Tom LaFia said that there were no suits in this. So, I don't believe him, though. I'm sorry, the late Tom LaFia. Yeah. I just don't think it's possible for it not to have been a suit performer in this scene.
Maybe you just had a bad memory.
Yeah, maybe here's the thing.
In that
overall,
interview.
Yeah, it sounds like he hated it and wanted it not be in this movie. And overall, it seems like there's maybe like one other scene that Reddit thinks could have been it. And then also, I give them typically do a lot more research than I do and are more knowledgeable in horror than me. Dead Meat credited this scene of being Ed Gale in a suit. So I don't know. The only direct official word I heard was that there was no suit performers, but also there's no way that this wasn't Ed Gale. So it's probably...
he was credited in the movie.
Yeah. But only under stunts. They never said what he did. So, maybe he was Andy's stunt double. I don't know. I don't think there's a way that it wasn't him. Because also Andy didn't do any stunts in this movie.
Right.
So, just saying, it's almost definitely Ed Gale, but, I don't want to officially say that I'm going against the words of a dead man. So, according to him, hey, maybe there wasn't one. In the morning, at breakfast, Phil shows Andy and Kyle the broken statue, and when neither will fess up to breaking it, he grounds both of them. Which makes Kyle a little upset, because she had a date tonight.
Yeah, because she's a 17-year-old young woman.
Down in the basement, Kyle is talking to Andy about how she's, mad that this is what she's doing on her day off. While she does some chores, specifically laundry. Andy doubles down that he didn't break the statue. And then shows her how he can say her name backwards in a really cute little kid moment.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
He's like, hey, you want to hear me say your name backwards? And then he just turns away from her and says Kyle. And it's really fun. It's really, gosh darn adorable, and I loved it. And I'll bring it up here. This is the first scene where we're even half seeing it. But one of the things this movie does better than most movies, and one of the things that pushes this movie into a different echelon of me really enjoying it, is the dynamic between Kyle and Andy. I love their sibling, they're not even technically sibling, but they're like thrown together foster siblings, where she shows more love to him in like her small joking moments than most of the time you see from siblings in any. Like it's so perfect. One of the same reasons I love Halloween 4. Spoiler from when we talk about Halloween 4 next year or this year. It's not next year anymore. Whoa, crazy. Time is moving weird.
Oh, crap. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. This is the first episode of the new year. Well, no, it's not. Child's Play 1 came out today in the new year.
Uh-oh.
But what this is, I'm pretty sure this is the 1 year anniversary of Horror Boys officially. This episode is the 1 year anniversary. This is our birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. We did it.
Because, last week should have been episode 52, which means this would be 1 year. But the point is, I really love Kyle and Andy's relationship. It's amazing. I think I'll probably point out a couple of the scenes when it really I love this scene between them. But just in general, any scene they're together, it's just there's such a I don't even know the right word, but just joy that I get from seeing their chemistry in scenes together. It's so good. I love it.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's very wholesome and sweet.
She asks him to hold her cigarette while she carries a laundry basket away. Andy takes a drag and immediately starts coughing. So she takes it back and asks him why he did that. He says he wanted to taste it, and she tells him to get real. They taste like crap. Yeah, she says crap.
And they're bad for you.
And they're bad for you. And he asks them, why does she do it? And she says because grown-ups are allowed to do things that are bad for them. Andy points out how she's not a grown-up, which she says is making him get on her nerves. This whole scene, I love it. I love it so much. I said something too soon about how much I love their chemistry, because boys, this scene just ring home to it, and I need to say it again. This whole scene is so good. He brings up that Mr. Simpson is kind of grouchy, and she says that he's not that bad, and she's had much worse. And some of them would be willing to start choking you at the smallest thing, is what she says. Which I don't know, maybe timeline wise, because I think the Simpsons start yet. Is that a reference to Homer strangling Bart? It might be.
It probably is.
It might be, because I think the Simpsons is 88, right? I think, or is it 90? Because if it's 90, that's a tight window to make that a reference to it. Chris is gonna do some quick research while I vamp to find out just when Simpsons started. Dun dun dun. Will he find the answer?
First air.
Will he find the answer?
1989.
All right, so I think it's a reference to Homer choking Bart. I'm gonna say it. That's my theory, at least. And that's a film theory. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
But no, please stay around. We're not done. We are barely into this movie. But yeah, so then the scene ends. That part of the scene ends, and Andy goes up to the basement stairs and stays at the door. And a shot that I've seen a lot of people point out is shot in a way that there's no way they wouldn't have seen him, but I don't care. I'm willing to believe they don't, for the sake of him overhearing this scene and them not reacting to it. But sure, fine. Officially, the way it's blocked, they probably would have seen him come up the door. But he hears Phil and Joanne talking. Phil is having second thoughts about Andy, and he needs more attention than they could give him. Joanna, it's not Joanna, it's Joanne. I don't know why I wrote Joanna that time. Joanne says that Andy just needs time to calm down, and that she likes him. But yeah, for some reason, Andy does just leave disappointed. One of the two of them like you. That's a pretty good number.
Yeah.
But I guess, to be fair, he doesn't want... He wants both of his parents. But come on, kid. You already had a single mother, so now you basically have a single mother again. She still likes...
Yeah. That's fair.
Well, Andy heads to the living room.
Father who hates you.
Yeah. We don't know how his father thought of him. He was dead when the first movie started.
True.
Could have hated him. So Andy heads to the living room. And tells the good guy doll, "I hate you." To which the doll responds, "Hi, I'm Tommy, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi ho, ha ha ha." Which is such a cool little scene of because he also looks away he's thinking, because it's we all know it's Chucky. We saw him destroy Tommy, but he had to remember Tommy's name. It's such a small detail that's so good. I love it. Andy picks it up. I think maybe Andy even kind of realized that felt a little weird, so he picks it up and checks them for batteries. And finds some that were put in by the techs in the opening credits. We do see them put them in the opening credits, and they're here still. He takes the doll to the kitchen and says hi to Phil and Joanne before going outside to swing. In the scene where they both are like, "Oh, he's deliberate." I love that. Just him trying to basically, he's trying to convince Phil, "Hey, please don't. Fine, look, I'm over it. I'll hug my trauma and say hi, so you let me stay here because I don't want to leave." It's just so heartbreaking. Yeah. But yeah, once outside, he's swinging, and Kyle is out there gardening, and Andy asks if she misses her mom and dad, and she says no because she never met her dad. And her mom put her up for adoption at 3, and she made a point to forget her. Which is just heartbreaking. But, it's why she's so hard and tough.
Rough and tough.
Because, she had to be. She then tells Andy she wants to sit on the swing, and he wants to push her She does not want him to, but he does it anyway as she starts to, like, kick up the dirt. It's a really cute scene of her, like, just like, stop it, Andy, and, like, he just keeps, it's a cool little bonding moment between the two of them. It's, once again, I love the chemistry between these two actors in every scene they're in.
What?
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, but she's starting to kick up the dirt under her, which, if you remember, that's where Tommy's buried. And you know who also is realizing this? Chucky, as we see him looking over this and noticing, like, oh, she's kicking up that dirt. But they get called in for dinner before Tommy is unburied. She reminds Andy to bring his doll in. Later that night, Joanne finishes sewing something for Kyle. That's basically the scene, and I'm just bringing that up so maybe you remember maybe there's a sewing machine in that room.
Yeah.
And maybe Joanne likes to use it sometimes. There's also this kind of a funny joke that I wasn't going to initially bring up, but I'll bring up here because I thought about it and I'm bringing up the scene in this, like, funny jokey ways. Also that because this is supposed to be a gift for Kyle, and she wants to know what they should give Andy, and I thought it was funny that Phil says a Valium.
Yeah.
In Andy's room, Andy wakes up tied up and gagged by Chucky. Chucky tells him he's got a new game for them to play, and it's called Hide the Soul. He starts in on an Ade Due Dumbala, but gets cut off at Give Me the Power I Beg when Kyle sneaks back into the house through Andy's window. She's somehow not alarmed by Andy being tied up, and she just...
Not the slightest.
Yeah, no, she's just like, I don't know, I guess he wanted to tie himself up. Good for him. I guess. I don't know, it's weird. I think I'd be a little...
He managed to tie up all of his...
Yeah, it's all of him tied up.
And also gag himself.
Yeah, well, he could have gagged himself first.
First, yeah. But managing to tie up all of his legs...
Well, what type of knots were they? Maybe they were ones that tightened once they were around his wrist. Maybe he's a really good knotsman, Chris. Yeah, so she ungags him, and Andy starts blaming Chucky. As she unties his arm, he immediately punches Chucky as Phil and Joanne come in. Phil thinks Kyle tied up Andy, so he wouldn't tell on her. And then Phil takes Chucky downstairs as Andy chases after him, saying he's got to kill him. Phil throws him down the stairs and tells him he can't bother him anymore. Which, to be fair, for all Phil knows, yeah, he can't now. Yeah. You know, because Phil thinks, oh, Kyle was being a jerk to him and put that doll on him, tied him up to try to, prank him. Which, she's a bad seed, so maybe.
Yeah, she smokes cigarettes.
She's a bad person.
Which makes her bad.
Yeah, she has no parents, so, like, she's probably... Wait. No, actually, no.
I don't think I will say that.
Yeah, I won't either.
That's good.
I won't say it. I'm not going to say it, Chris. Stop looking at me like that. I'm not saying it. I'm moving on. Where was I? Gosh, Chris. I'm not going to say that. Once the door closes, Chucky gets up and sees his nose is starting to bleed, showing him he's already started to turn human.
Yeah.
In the morning, Kyle walks Andy to the bus, and she playfully... Oh, sorry. First, she sees him acting nervous. She's, like, looking around behind him a lot, and she playfully asks if, he's looking for Chucky. Then asks him how he tied himself up last night. He says he already told her. She tells him to get real, so he responds, she's just like everyone else. She doesn't believe him. Poor Andy.
Poor Andy.
As the bus drives off, we see Chucky's hitching a ride on the bottom.
Yeah, his little feet are dangling out from underneath the bus.
Yeah. And also, I'll add that I wasn't going to mention this scene, but I'll mention it for the sake of the poor Andy story of this. Andy's also, like, getting bullied the second he's on the bus when none of these kids should know him.
Like
and shouldn't
everyone on the bus?
Yeah, everyone's just mean to him. Like, one kid, like, full-on pushes him, but other kids are just throwing paper at him. Like they're just mean to him for... He's new! No one knows him! They have no reason to be mean to him yet. Find out he has trauma, then target that. Gosh, don't you kids know how to bully?
Amateurs.
at recess, Andy is playing dodgeball alone with the fence.
I'd say he's more playing wall ball.
I mean, he's just throwing a ball at a fence because he's got nothing else to do. He's not really playing anything.
Yeah, wall ball.
Sure. But it's a fence.
You
So it's
bounce
not a
the
wall.
ball off the wall, and
It's
you
a
catch it.
fence. And also, he's
the
throwing
action
it
is the wall.
2 inches from it. Like, he's not even, like, that's not hard to catch it then.
Doesn't have very good reflexes, Austin. Don't judge him.
I will. I'll judge him. Because, come on, kids. Make fun of him for not being able to play ball right. Come on. There's things. Wait a couple minutes, then you can find out what to make fun of him for. Gosh, these kids. And while he's playing ball alone, inside, Chucky is in the classroom looking for something. We don't know what.
Yeah.
We transition to later, where Andy gets in trouble with his teacher, Miss Kettlewell, for talking during class for telling off a bully. That's what happens in the scene. He tells a bully to stop messing with him, and he gets in trouble.
Yeah, he calls him a microchip.
He does, which, if his name was
really
Mike,
funny.
that's kind of funny, but if not, I don't get where he got that name coming from. But here's the thing. If his name was Mike, you know what that is right there? Good bullying. Andy gets it.
Yeah.
Because he's learned from the best. Chucky. Oh, wait. Miss Kettlewell is played by Beth Grant of Donnie Darko. She was in 2 episodes of Malcolm in the Middle, but as a Malcolm in the Middle fan, I always thought she was in more because her character is so, memorable, and it feels like she should have been more important. Like, her character, she's the mother of one of Malcolm's friends, and she's only in 2 episodes, but I swore she was, a bit character in, 5 or 6. But she's literally in 2 episodes, and it shocked me when I found that out. And I was like, wait, really? And most importantly, to me, that is, she was in Season 1, Episode 5, Room with a View of the Buffy spinoff, Angel, where she plays a ghost haunting Cordelia's new apartment.
Wow.
Yeah. That's it. She was an angel. It's pretty cool, right, guys? She dismisses class, but before Andy leaves, she finds his paper that says some mean obscenities, as his, mother later calls them. Or not his mother, but, his foster mom. Mrs. Simpson. Yeah, Miss Simpson says later, she calls them obscenities. And I thought it was just it's a word I don't typically use. I had initially written expletives, because that's my word for not saying curse words. But, when I was like, ooh, I like the word obscenity, so I'm going to change it. And now I'm going to explain how I changed it.
Okay.
So she goes in to confront Andy, who just discovered Chucky in the toy cabinet. He says he didn't write it, and she asks who did, and he looks towards Chucky, but she misunderstands that as him wanting to play with Chucky. And she locks Chucky in the closet and leaves Andy locked in the room. It's not much better, but I just want to make sure when I say locks him in the closet, you didn't think she locked Andy in the closet. She only locks him in the classroom.
Yeah. Which is definitely, I'm pretty sure, not allowed.
Oh, I don't know. It's 1990. Who knows, man?
Yeah.
Now? For sure, no. Because definitely, that's so against, fire code and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, she locks him in there. We get that awesome music box theme as he walks towards the closet door. He looks in and he is met with Chucky's eye. Chucky says peekaboo, because Chucky's kind of funny now. He's going to say jokes most of the time you see him now. And he's going to, typically, those jokes are going to land a little better than some of the other people who try to say jokes in movies.
It's true. A little better.
He's still not 100. He's still not 100 for 100. He's not going to hit he's not going to hit out of the park every time. He's not going to batter up every time like in the first. That's a callback to the first movie.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So he says peekaboo and tries to beg Andy to help him at first, let him out. And he's like, it's one thing that I love about Chucky. He did in the first movie. He does it here. He does it again later in the movie, where he'll just try to plead with the kid to be like, oh come on, I won't kill anyone anymore. It's like, why do you think he'd believe you? But he still tries anyway. And when he realizes that's not working, he starts just yelling and cursing at him to open up the door. Andy escapes out the window, leaving it open. Maybe important for a shot we're about to see. Miss Kettlewell returns to no Andy and the closet door shaking and goes over to open it, assuming it's Andy. There's a little bit of a dramatic scene as she's like looking around in there before Chucky pops out, stabbing her in the chest with a ball pump.
And then he pumps it a little bit.
Yeah. No quip there.
And then she gets sent back.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. I guess maybe it is the pump that sends her back, I think. It sends her falling back.
Silly.
Then he walks towards her with a good guy branded yardstick, calling her naughty, and a very impressive example of the advancements made in the animatronics in just 2 years. Like, this is all animatronic, and like, it looks so cool. It is so well done, and it's from 1990.
Yeah, that was very solid.
Yeah. He then beats her to death with the yardstick as the shot keeps like cutting further and further out through the window, but we can still see the yardstick swinging as we get further back. Like, even in that last shot where it's really far away, if you look close enough, the yardstick is still swinging in the window. I love the artistry of this shot. All these shots are really cool. One little problem with them is, they took so long that they pushed production behind schedule, which caused them to have to cut out scenes that were more like a lot more character scenes for Garrett Graham and Jenny Agutter, who play Phil and Joanne, and they were both not very happy. Joanne specifically had once said, according to Don Mancini in an interview, that this was the lowest point in her career because of how it was done to her, what was done to her. So she was not very happy with the fact that a lot of what she thought was the important part of her character was ended up being cut because of time. Because this really cool shot, which is really cool, and probably in the grand scheme of things, probably is more important than slightly more character for her, because it's cool, and I don't know if we needed more character for her in this movie. But yeah. But I could also understand, though, as an actor, when you see the script you agreed to do, and now it's like, oh yeah, some of the scenes you really like, they're gone. That would suck. So yeah. Back at the Simpson house, Andy tries to explain what happened to Phil and Joanne, but Phil especially is having none of it, and shows Andy Chucky is still in the basement. Also, Andy's also having none of him, like, showing him, like, Phil wanted Andy to open the door, but he won't. He wants, at the end, for him to be like, see, tell me he was here this whole time, and Andy just won't. So, yeah. They're both having none of each other at this point, Phil and Andy. I don't think they're going to get along for much longer. Thankfully, they won't have to.
Yeah.
Or not thankfully, because that's still, maybe not thankfully. Later, we see Phil and Joanne having an argument. Phil says Andy needs professional help, and they should send him back. Joanne says he never wanted Andy there, and they can't give up on their child. Phil says he's not their child, and slams the door. There is more dialogue in that, but that's the important beats. Kyle goes into Andy's room to tell him it's not the end of the world, to be sent away. Tells him he'll be okay. She's lived with dozens of families, and they all seem to send her away when she gets comfortable, but it made her stronger and reminded her she can only count on herself, which is really sad advice to have to give to someone, and something that still a child. She's 17. Her character should not have to have that, like, feel she can't count on anyone. But, it is probably advice that Andy probably needs right now.
Yeah.
And it's just another example of really good scenes between the two of them. But he ends the scene by telling her it doesn't matter, because wherever he goes, Chucky will find him. We see a POV shot in the kitchen, but this time it's Andy, and he arms himself with an electric knife because he's doing his impression of Seth Green doing a Leatherface impression in Idle Hands. At least that's my headcanon. Idle Hands also came out 10 years after this, so it was not accurate. It was just a joke to reference the I am Leatherface scene in Idle Hands. He heads downstairs into the basement to find and kill Chucky. He looks around for a good bit. Here's the thing. It takes a while, and when it comes to notes, he just looks around. But it is well done suspense, the good audio design and whatnot. Before he gets startled by the spinning wheel that for some reason they have in their house.
Yeah. They have a lot of useless junk in there.
Yeah, it makes a noise. I don't think it was even Chucky, because it then makes another noise when he's right next to it. So I don't know what even caused the spinning wheel to make a noise. The script, really, actually. But he then opens the dryer and just starts carving the clothes up. In case, Chucky's hiding there. But Chucky runs behind him. This is another scene that Reddit points out is almost definitely Ed Gale, because of just how quick that he runs past, and, you see both sides of him. Once again, according to, Tom LaFia, there's none. Or John LaFia, there's none. So maybe he's not in this scene. Maybe he is. I don't know. Reddit thinks he is, but Reddit's not the end-all be-all. Reddit gets a lot of things wrong at times, so who knows? He runs behind Andy, but Andy hears it. So Andy turns around, but can't find Chucky, who drops down on him, knocking the carver out of his hand. Andy reaches for it, and we cut upstairs, where Phil hears the commotion and heads downstairs. Down in the basement, Andy makes it to the carver and gets Chucky off of him with it. Just then, Phil opens the door and is scared by seeing the kid that he thinks is troubled with a knife. But you know what? Fair. You think he's got... Which, honestly, at this point, it probably does look like he's got some serious problems.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like I said at the beginning of the movie, at this point, Phil is almost justified. But, But the problem is he started at, a 8, when maybe he should have started at a 2 in his distrust of Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he starts slowly coming down the stairs a little bit, but Chucky hooks his foot from behind. I'm not even sure with what that is.
A hook.
It almost looks like a harpoon. I don't know if it is. It's weird looking, whatever this thing...
It could be.
Yeah.
There could be anything in that basement, apparently.
The only, I think there was one shot right after he hooks him where it looks like there's a rope coming from it as well. I was like, is that a harpoon that he just hooked his leg with? I'm not sure. He doesn't use a harpoon gun, but it might be a harpoon. It's a hook of some sort. He trips him, causing him to fall down. Well, not all the way, but fall off the side and be down. He's hanging up by his foot by the hook. Then Phil sees Chucky. So, hey, Phil believes him now. It's gonna be all good now. Oh, yeah. But what's that? Chucky says, "How's it hanging, Phil?" Uh-oh, he just said a quip. It's over for you. So he drops him on his neck, killing him instantly. Ooh, awkward.
Yeah. Phil's dead.
Yeah. At this point, Joanne and Kyle come in. They start to come down the stairs. Kyle goes back up the stairs to call an ambulance, while Joanne rushes to Phil. Andy tries to go over to her, but she tells him to get away from her, which also, sadly, is kind of fair at this point. Sucks for Andy. Andy's getting the rawest deal ever, but it kind of looks like you maybe at least startled him in a way that caused his death. So who knows? It definitely looks like Andy is somewhat at fault, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she tells him to get away. We cut to outside a little bit later as the body bag is being taken away. Inside, Joanne packs Andy's bag, telling Kyle she should have listened to Phil. Kyle says it's not her fault and takes the bag to Andy. As we just see, Joanne distraught as she leaves. She's doing some good distraught acting. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we should have had more of her acting in this movie, because the few times we really get to see it is really good. So maybe, she had some other really cool character moments that got cut. I don't know. Yeah, so downstairs, Grace is there to take Andy to the center. Andy warns Kyle he's still in the cellar and to not let him get her too. In the basement, after telling a cop that no one else but Andy saw the accident, she takes Chucky and throws him in the trash can. She goes for a smoke on the swing and ends up revealing Tommy.
Yeah, it was some very vigorous swinging with her feet.
Yeah. And when she goes back to the trash can, Chucky is gone. This whole little bit here takes a lot longer than that, and there's a lot. It's really well done. There's like it's one really cool shot of her like eyes in the light, and she has the noticing moment, like there's shadows around the rest of her face, but like the moonlight hits her eyes. Like, it's really well shot. There's a lot of really good suspense, but I will explain it as one sentence because that is basically all that actually happens, though. So yeah, Chucky's gone. She now knows that Andy's been telling the truth the whole time. But while she's outside, she does hear a thud upstairs. So she goes inside, she arms herself with a knife, and heads upstairs where she finds Joanne, running. She got her running sewing machine. So, but everything's good, right? Ooh, it's not, because Joanne's dead from being tied up and maybe her throat slit. It's really kind of confusing how she died.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Maybe he tied her up.
It happened off screen.
Yeah,
so
it happened off screen, and we'll never know. But it's not very well shown in the scene what we're supposed to even have thought happened here.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's dead now.
Very.
Chucky cuts himself out from the bed behind Kyle as she sits down, like in shock. He like pops out from the sheets behind her, like opening it up. It's pretty cool. And he pops out, attacks her. They're rolling around for a little bit as she's trying to fight him off. But she's eventually able to grab a lamp that they had broke earlier in their little skirmish, is the word I'll use. She goes to, she knocks him off with that. She goes to grab her knife that had fallen, but Chucky grabs it from the bed he's hiding under now. Well, she sneaks around, almost out the door, but gets tripped by Chucky at the last second, and he gets on top of her with the knife and like threatens her, probably curses at her. I think he does. I don't remember exactly what he said. I think he said like, "That hurt, B word," or "You hurt me," or something like that. It's not a really good. It's not a good quip. There's no quip here, really. Actually, he just like curses. Yeah. Yeah. So at knife point, he has Kyle drive him to Andy. He has her speed, so he's not trapped in the body because he's like, I'm gonna get trapped in this body, which you would think is like him telling it's like the classic villain telling the person the trope, but he doesn't actually even come into play. It feels like a moment where he shouldn't have told her this, but also it doesn't matter that he told her this in any way.
No, it is pretty unconsequential.
Yeah,
but
her saying, "Hey," him telling her to speed was consequential because they now are pulled over by a cop.
Yeah.
As he's like walking up before he's there, though, Chucky tells her, he'll kill her if she tries to get help. Basically, he uses like I think he tells her if she tries anything funny or something like that, or some. I think it even was that. I don't know. He used some really weird terminology for what he wanted her to do.
No funny business. Just act normal.
Yeah, I don't think he even says act normal. He just says, it's not no funny bit. It's some weird thing, and that's why I completely reworded it in here. Because in the scene, I was like, I know what he means, but if I just wrote that down, it would make no sense as I'm trying to explain it in the podcast. I don't remember the exact line, but I remember it being it not making sense to me. Not anything stupid, just not making that much sense. I'm going to move on. It's not important.
Okay, yeah.
The cop is played by the late Matt Rowe, who is technically a Horror Boy alum, for his spot in Puppet Master. Yeah, he's in the first Puppet Master film. Which, hey, if you're wondering, when I say technically a Horror Boy alum, I forgot to explain what that means on this episode. That means, here on the Horror Boys channel, if you're on YouTube, if you're on the app, go to youtube.com/@horrorboys, where you can find me and Chris do these cool, horrible commentary tracks on, horror movies. We've done a lot of them. Not really. We've done a few of them.
We've done a decent amount.
Yeah. think we've done like 10.
Puppet Master's been rough.
Yeah. Someday we'll finish Puppet Master, probably.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. So yeah, the cop asks why she was speeding, and Kyle says she has a date. The cop says you'll have to do better than that. But then he sees Chucky and gets really excited because he loves good guy dolls.
Yeah, which is weird because they haven't been around that long, and
it's been 2 years. I mean,
and he's an old man.
Yeah, but he's a cop, so maybe he's seen him at like kids' houses and just think they're really cool because they're advanced technology. I don't know.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't think it's that big a problem.
It's like, cool, a doll.
Yeah. But it's like a cool doll that like says things when you talk to it. That's a little advanced, I guess. I don't know.
That is neat.
Yeah. And he thinks it's neat. He asks
and then he asks his name.
Yeah, he asks for his name, and in Chucky, not good guy voice, he answers Chucky. Which, it's just like this like deadpan, angry, like, why are you asking? Leave me alone voice. Just says Chucky. But in Brad Dourif's voice, not mine.
Right.
He then sees that, the cop then sees that Chucky's nose is bleeding, but Kyle saves it, saying that, you've seen dolls that pee. This is a doll that bleeds. Which I have a fun fact about. Which is the fact that is like one of the big, like, plot points that was supposed to be in the original Child's Play back before it was Child's Play. Don Mancini had written the original script that then ended up being, I think, initially rewritten by John LaFia, or was Tom Holland first? I don't remember which one of them had the first draft. Both of them wrote pieces of it after him, but the initial idea was that, like, because it's a lot different. They had no voodoo, as we acknowledged last week. He thinks the voodoo is stupid. But yeah, the idea was that it was initially called, like, Batteries Not Included, but Spielberg was making a movie called Batteries Not Included already, so they had to change the name. So he came up with the name Blood Buddy. Chucky's original name was Buddy, and the whole, like, one of the big things was they were dolls that bled. They had synthetic blood in them. So, like, and the crux of the story was supposed to be that, like, Andy also cut his thumb, and that once Chucky got cut and they mixed their blood, and then Chucky, or Buddy, I guess, in that version, was taking out, like, Andy's id basically took control of him, so, like, anyone that Andy didn't like would he killed. Obviously, that's not what we got, but this is a callback to that. I believe that specific line was supposed to be in, like, that movie. It's something that Don Mancini likes to do a lot. If something doesn't get to happen in a movie, he brings it back if he can make it work somewhere else. Yeah. I did not explain that as well as I probably could have. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad we got Child's Play instead of Blood Buddies, I'll be honest. It sounds a little bit...
I don't know, I mean... I love that first movie, but if you want to think... He's not wrong. The whole voodoo side of that whole story is like, wait, what's going on? This is kind of stupid plot. I'm fine with it, because it's fun. Who knows, we'll never know. I love Child's Play, so I am happy we got Child's Play. But hey, I'd love if that was something that would happen in life, like where, like, writers' original scripts then were able to get picked up and made in movies years later. But hey, we're never going to see that, so we're going to move on. The cop lets her off with a warning, and tells her to buckle up. At the center, after getting tucked in, Andy jumps up and gets redressed, because he wants to be prepared if anything happens. Back to the car, where Chucky tells Kyle to step on it again, so she buckles up, saying that fine, we'll just get pulled over again. But then she slams on the brakes, sending Chucky out the window. Chucky holds onto the hood, and she slams into, like, a pole, flinging him off into a fence. Then she tried to run into him, but she can't see if, she hit him. He might have got away. She can't quite tell. So she gets out, and he gets her at knife point again. We're right back to that point. She's right back at knife point. Because he jumps on her from behind, and now he has her walking by foot into the center, because they're, like, right outside it. They evacuate everyone but Andy and Grace Poole by setting off the fire alarm. Grace thinks that Kyle set off the alarm, which I guess she might have, but it would have been at distress from Chucky. But she just thinks she's doing it as a prank. And she takes them, Chucky, Andy and Kyle into her office. She takes Chucky from Kyle, and he stabs her in the chest a few times before she falls into the copier, making copies of her as she dies.
Yeah.
Kyle tries to pull Andy out of the room, but Chucky traps Andy in and tells him to move his butt. He doesn't say butt. That Chucky's a bad boy. He says bad words. He says a lot of obscenities.
He sure does.
But Andy is zoning out, which is kind of a callback to the first movie when his mom wants him to do something. He kind of also is like just... He's a kid, so he's overwhelmed by the horrible things he's seeing. Like, right here where he sees, someone who he knew really well is dead in front of him. But I really did like the line from Chucky here as he tells him to snap out of it. You act like you've never seen a dead body before, which is sadly... Yeah, he's seen a lot of dead bodies at this point, so...
Yeah.
Chucky has Andy sneak them out of a window and into the back of a newspaper van. Kyle follows behind in her car. Chucky flips her off when she gets close. The driver won't pull over, so she swerves in front of him. The driver is played by the late Charles Mishak of Commando. She chases after Andy and Chucky into the Play Pals factory with a cool Indiana Jones roll before the door closes.
Yeah.
Inside, we see the awesome maze of boxes of good guy dolls. This right here is the reason that this scene, for the most part, the rest of the movie also deserved it as well, but this set piece at the end is the reason that I wanted to make sure that we gave credit to Ivo Christine. The production design for this final fight, this whole factory that he built, basically, because this isn't a real factory, this is on a soundstage or a warehouse, whatever, but it was not a factory. They built this, and it's awesome. It is such a cool set piece for a final fight.
It really is.
Our final act here, this last 15 minutes of this movie, is all here, and it's all awesome because of the way it's just built, and it feels like a real factory. A little overboard and cartoony in places, but it feels like in the world where this factory could exist, it would function as a factory, if that makes,
Right.
So, it's awesome. And that's why I really wanted to make sure we brought up Ivo Christine. Because normally I kind of skip over production design because it's not something I personally notice as much as I probably should.
I don't know.
I will also point out, for some reason, I guess this must be a Gen 2 of the Good Guy dolls, because now their boxes are a little different. They have pictures of the good guy on the cover and not just a window to inside. And it would definitely not be because there was no way they could produce enough good guy dolls to do this scene if it was actually the way it was in the first movie. Because there are probably 10,000 maybe in this scene.
It's a lot of boxes.
It's a lot of boxes. So the amount of money they would have to spend on this movie, I didn't write down the budget or box office of this movie. I'm sorry, but if they had done that, whatever the budget is, it'd be tripled. If they actually had built even just the face of a good guy doll to go in each of these. So they changed the boxes instead. Chucky knocks out Andy with a really kind of weak hit to the back of the head, but it's enough, apparently. Andy's out. This is that possible concussion I hinted at in the beginning of the movie.
Well, beginning of the podcast.
Yes, fair enough. But yeah, so he knocks him out, and it says the full Ade Due Dumbala incantation with Storm and all outside, but it doesn't work because he's been a toy too long. So Andy starts kind of crawling away a little bit as Kyle drops good guy doll boxes onto Chucky from above him. We actually, in a scene that is really cool that it's there, just because it's such a small thing that they could have easily just jumped over, because who cares, it's a moment. In the next time we see her coming down the factory movable staircases that you see at Home Depot and stuff, the ones that are on wheels. We see her coming down one of those, which explains how she got up to push those boxes down. It's such a small detail that they could have easily had forgotten and not cared about, but they did, which I think is really cool that they put it in there, because that could easily be something someone goes, how did she get up there? But they literally show it to us. So yeah, Andy starts to run away. He meets up with Kyle at the at the bottom of that little staircase thing, and they start running, and they are running through this crazy maze. We do see Chucky pop up from the boxes he was pushed under, implying that he might be following them, but we kind of follow them throughout the maze for a while without ever seeing him for a little bit, so
Yeah.
we don't know where Chucky is right now. They get
Somewhere.
to a conveyor belt rollers, I think is what this would be called. I tried to do a lot of research on what these are called, and that was the best thing I got. It could also be called like a gravity roller.
Yeah.
But
It's like a series of metal cylinders that like drop boxes down onto the conveyor belt.
Yeah. I think it was when I looked it up to try to figure this out, is both conveyor belt rollers and gravity rollers are both terms sometimes used for these kind of things. So yeah, but yeah, they're climbing up one of those, kind of like having to climb up a really hard slide. It's actually very similar to one of the obstacles on the original Sasuke, which has later been rebranded as Ninja Warrior, and then American Ninja Warrior. One of their, I don't remember what it was called. It was like the rolling logs or something like that. The rolling log is the other one. It's like the something climb or something ascent. It's weird. It doesn't matter. I don't think they even use that one anymore. But it was one in like some of the first like 10 or so. So if you're a big Sasuke fan, the game show, not the character in Naruto, it's kind of like that, and they're climbing up it.
A Sasuke character fan, please leave the podcast.
Oh, wow, that seems...
Just kidding.
Oh, no. But yeah, so, Kyle gets up, no problem. Andy's trying to follow her, but slips back, and pops Chucky right behind him. So now Chucky's right on his tail as he's climbing back up. Andy makes it up just in time, and Kyle drops a gate on Chucky's arm, or his hand, like it's on his wrist, really. It's trapping his hand away from his arm. So yeah, Andy and Kyle run away while Chucky rips off his hand in this really cool like gore effect.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Pretty sick.
Yeah. Andy and Kyle go through a dangerous eye applier machine. A lot of these things are not going to have real names, the weird made up machines they did for this, so I'm just going to describe what they do the best I can.
And Chucky also snags the knife with his other hand.
Oh yeah, sorry. He did grab the knife. You're right.
Which is very important.
You're right.
For an upcoming
but
scene.
As they get through that, the door on the other side is locked. And while that scene was happening of them trying to go through the eye machine thing, Chucky is giving himself a knife hand as he like pulls off the handle and then stabs the handle metal end into his like nub, and then like packing tapes it on. Like he's giving himself a cool knife hand. And that's all happening kind of at the same time. But then we cut to them realizing the one like factory worker technician that's in the whole building, because I guess it's such an efficient building they only need one guy working there. And so yeah, he has to come out because they caused a pileup on the eye machine. So he comes out to fix it. The tech is played by Vince Melorci? I can't tell what I wrote. I'm sorry, Vince's family.
Hey, Vince.
Yeah, as soon as the tech finishes the machine, Chucky slits his throat, causing him to fall back and get doll eyes put into his eye sockets.
Actually, he doesn't slit his... Because I also thought that's what happened. But when he's, like, laying back, he just has, like, a slash on his face.
Oh, he just got his face? My bad, I'm sorry.
Yeah, which is really weird that made him fall back, but...
Yeah. I think it was also a little bit of a startling moment. Maybe it was more of a, there's a doll in my face.
That is entirely fair. A doll with a knife hand.
Yeah.
His company.
So now while that part's happening... Kyle, some of these scenes are cut intertwined, so I'm trying to figure out how to best tell you them. But while that's happening, Kyle saves Andy from a drippy molten plastic release valve. The drop almost falls on him, but she pulls Andy away just in time. And that actually technically happened like in the middle of the eye scene. So we now cut back to Andy and Kyle as Andy accidentally bumps into a button that makes the conveyor belt send a doll back into the arm and leg applying machine.
Yep.
Causing a melty monstrosity thing to pop out. Because that's what happens when you... It wouldn't just put 2 more arms and legs on the exact same spot. There's arms and legs coming out all different directions. And here's the thing.
A lot of molten plastic.
Yeah, and logically, this makes no sense at all. But in the moment, it's a cool-looking little, like, weird doll monster, so I'm fine with it. I really am. I'll point out that it is technically a flaw, while also saying I don't care and it's cool.
Yeah, it does not make sense, but it is pretty rad.
A random doll, like, falls away from them, so they look away, and then when they look back, Chucky's there, and he tries to get like a jump on them, but Kyle sees him just in time to tell Andy to duck, so she hits him, and then he falls down as the hair applying machine staples his leg onto the little board he's on.
Yeah. And then he gets sent up into the
arm he tells Andy, like, dude, push the button again. So he does. So they send him into the arm and leg machine, and out comes this like bloody mess of limbs. So, Chucky's dead, so it's time to leave happily, right? When Chucky sends the tech, we don't know who sends it yet. Well, we do, kind of, because we see blood pool. They don't see it, but we see there's a blood trail leaving the machine. And he sends the tech that somehow he rigged up at some point to swing in at them. And it swings in, knocking Kyle over onto the conveyor belt. They're now on the other side where she'd get pulled into the arm machine. But yeah, a legless Chucky is on like a little board with wheels now. So he wheels himself towards Andy. As he comes near him, he knocks this like air tube loose on a machine, and also gets his knife stuck in like a grate, trapping him. So Andy pours molten plastic on him. Cool death, right? Yeah, Chucky's dead, definitely. So Andy goes and saves Kyle right before the limb machine would have decapitated her, because it's designed in a way where it would have decapitated her. It looks cool, so I don't care. But once again, no way this factory is real, because this machine would never be allowed. It seems way too dangerous.
And not super efficient.
Yeah. Well, it's efficient if it goes the right direction. Just don't hit the button that sends it the other direction that for some reason exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, I skipped over a actually really funny interaction. So when they had sent Chucky into the limb machine, he started to try to do his Chucky thing where he goes like, I was only playing, Andy. And then Kyle flips him off, which was a callback to when he flipped her off earlier. Sorry for skipping over that. It was actually a really funny little interaction there. So, yeah, I know. It's not important, but I needed to bring it up because I saw it on my notes.
But Kyle is knocked out and on her way up. But then Andy runs to save her.
And saves her just before she gets decapitated. So Kyle goes over to Chuck Chucky's body. But he's not dead. So gooey molten Chucky tries to get her, but she puts the tube in his mouth, causing his head to inflate and then explode in this gooey mess of gore. It's cool. Yeah. And then they leave as triumphant music plays as they discuss where they're going to go. And, she says home, and he's like, we don't have a home. And she's like, yeah, basically, yeah, you're right. And it ends in a very happy, but also, wait, well, crap, what is going to happen to these kids moment?
Yeah.
Which, fair. I don't know if Child's Play deserves a fully happy ending. It's Child's Play. Andy's never going to have a fully happy life, is he? Ooh, darn. Poor Andy. I mean, genuinely, poor Andy.
Yeah.
But yeah, final thoughts. I mean, I've said it throughout this thing. This movie's great. Watching it a second time, I still think I put Child's Play, the original, slightly above it. But man, is this so close. This movie is... What it doesn't have in, perfect, storytelling, I feel like the first movie has, it has in, heart with the characters and fun set pieces that the first movie didn't have that elevates it in its own way to a very similar level. Like, they're so close. They're both great movies. This is such a great follow-up to the first movie. They did really smart by not trying to keep Chucky out of the movie for too long. He shows up for like the first time at like 10 or 15 minutes in. Like, they knew what they were doing. It doesn't overstay its welcome. The movie is like an hour, 20 minutes before credits. It's a good time. I love the soundtrack. I love the effects. Absolutely love, I've said it like 4 times, but I'll say it one last time, the chemistry between Kyle and Andy, or, Alex Vincent and Christine Elise. Give credit to the actors, not the characters, because it's the actors who do the job, not the character. But credit that their scenes, whenever those two are on screen together, I love that. There's something about that, like, big sister, specifically not actually their sister, dynamic in a movie that for some reason I love. That's why I love this in Halloween 4, apparently. I don't know what it is, but yeah. This movie's great.
Yeah, I agree. This is a really, really solid follow-up to the original, which I feel like for a sequel, especially in horrors, is incredibly rare. And yeah, for any weak points that it has in comparison to the first one, it more than makes up for in elements that I feel like the first one didn't have, with the chemistry between Alex Vincent and what's her name?
Christine Elise.
Christina, yeah. Every time those two are on screen together, it is definitely just wholesome vibes, and I really enjoy it. And on that note, yeah, all the acting in this movie is still really solid. And Alex Vincent is even more solid than he was when he was like 6, which is crazy. He's a prodigy child actor.
Really didn't do much after this, which is crazy.
No, which is wild, but also good for him.
Yeah, no, good for him, because he's probably just made some money here and like lived a normal life.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Yeah. I don't keep up with celebrities usually. But also, yeah, the special effects in this movie are nutso. Like, one of the main things that I was thinking the entire time I was watching this movie was like, wow, this was like 1990. It was the beginning of 1990s, and all these effects, in my opinion, still hold up really well today. Like, are they a little dated?
Maybe.
But it's...
I'd say the reason why I would say
even watching this today, I'm like, yeah, this feels appropriate for the subject matter.
That's the thing, is I think they were really smart with the way they told the stories. I don't think I would agree if someone tried to say it was dated, because I think because they chose to make it a animatronic toy, that it feels right. That it's the same reason, why a Toy Story holds up better than like a Bug's Life might, is because, like, animation wise specifically, not like story. I'm not trying to but like, it's just because the toys still look awesome in that first movie. Yeah, the people look like crap, but there's a reason they chose to not make that movie about the people.
Yeah,
because they knew that the toys were. It's the same thing with it. Like, they made if they tried to make a full-sized human, yeah, it wouldn't have worked. That like was all animatronic. It wouldn't have worked. But they made it a toy, so it works. It hides the flaw.
Yeah, and luckily, all of the people in this movie are real people, and only Chucky is an animatronic.
I mean, I
the animatronics.
I cannot confirm nor deny if Garrett Graham is a real person. I've never met him.
That's fair. I haven't met any of these people.
Me neither.
But yeah, it's a really, really solid movie, and I really enjoyed myself, so much so that after watching it, I was like, I gotta watch Child's Play 3 immediately.
Yeah, and then you almost ruined the beginning of the podcast. Dang. No, I'm just... Thanks, Child's Play 2.
It's a funny goof.
But yeah, next week, as we've, obviously we're watching Child's Play now. We watch Child's Play, then we watch Child's Play 2. So next week we're watching The
Friday
Howling Part 4. Yes, that's right. No, we are watching Child's Play 3 next week, the movie that Chris already watched and tried to tell you about at the beginning of this movie.
No, I only tried to tell you about the title card. Well, the intro of the title card.
But yeah, so we'll be talking about Child's Play 3 next week. If you like this podcast, leave a 5-star review on any podcast app of your choice. If you watch this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, all that crap. Yeah. If you didn't know we had a YouTube, genuinely thanks to YouTube right now, it's actually really easy to find YouTube channels now, finally, after years of it not being. So head on over to youtube.com/@horrorboys. The @ if you don't know what I mean by @horrorboys. But yeah, then also if you want to support us directly, patreon.com/horrorboys. We give you more content, or this content for free, or both. Technically, there's no way to get more content and not get this for free.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been Austin. I've been joined by Chris, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.